They're like, we're not going to teach outsiders, especially a foreigner. But 4 years. It took me 4 years of asking. I would reach out to them every few months. I would write them an email, comment on their YouTube, Instagram eventually. I mean, all these things. And then finally, the president himself, I met him. He invited me to Korea. And I'm blessed. And when I met him, to me, it was like meeting, Michael Jordan, someone so famous. I knew he was a president of the hospital, but I had no idea that he sees all the Korean athletes from Kim Yoo-na to Park Ji-sung to, Sin Chu-chu. And now he's the new president's like doctor. I mean, how cool is that? It's easy for people to say, oh, you're successful and you have money or whatever else, but they have no idea what you went through. But yeah, Mexican flea market, $300 a month. And that's how I started. I had a $70 massage table. The thin one, the portable one, is not comfortable at all. But I needed to start somewhere. Now we have our own building, 20,000 square foot.
Congratulations.
Oh, it's not mine, it's the bank's, but thank you. My vision is Justin, have a true integrative center, have physical therapy, have chiro, have a medical doctor, have a stretch therapy, have a psychologist, maybe classes. I have a big classroom that could seat 60, 70 people. So anybody that hears this and they're ever curious, I told you, I've been so blessed. I've been so blessed that anyone that ever wants to shadow, for a day or two, reach out to me, no cost. I mean, you can buy me coffee or something, Starbucks or.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So for you and all your people, or maybe we could do the second episode in Dallas,
Hi, everyone. This is Bora from Hi, everyone. This is Bora from Boncho Friends. And today we have our guest speaker, Carlos Chapa, Oriental Medicine Doctor at Acupuncture and Integrative Medicine Center in Texas. Thank you so much for joining our interview.
No, thank you for inviting.
Thank you. So Carlos, could you please introduce yourself to everyone? Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Carlos Chapa. I'm an acupuncturist and naturopathic doctor here in Dallas, Texas. Graduated from Dongguk University, Los Angeles, and did my post-grad work in Korea mostly. So finished my PhD, went to the naturopathic side, and I still go to Korea usually about 3 times a year for more training. Always training, learning. And I usually go to Dongguk University Hospital or Jaseng Hanbangwon, Jaseng Hospital in Seoul.
Oh, okay. So Jaseng Clinic or Jaseng Hanbangbyeongon, that's really huge clinic in Korea. They have a lot of franchise office in all the cities. So I saw your one of your Instagram posts, and you were actually one of the acupuncturists, foreign acupuncturists working at Jaseng Hanbangbyeongon.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 4 years. So I learned about Jaseng when I was finishing I think it was right after graduation. So maybe 2006. And I followed them on YouTube, and everything was in Korean. But this is the largest, busiest hospital, private, for Korean medicine. And I wanted to train with them, and they, of course, they're not training. They're not a school. They're not a university. They're private, and almost like Kentucky Fried Chicken secret recipe. They're like, we're not going to teach outsiders, especially a foreigner. But 4 years. It took me 4 years of asking. I would reach out to them every few months, maybe every 3-4 months. I would write them an email, comment on their YouTube, Instagram eventually. I mean, all these things. And then finally, the president himself, I met him. He invited me to Korea. And I'm blessed. And that's why I give back as much as I can to the community of traditional Chinese medicine acupuncturists, because there's not, number one, there's not many of us in the U.S. especially. Not many of us are doing that great. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But I've been so blessed that I kind of feel guilty sometimes, because the experience and the training that I received, that once again, I think I'm the only American ever to have trained there. I didn't work for them. I just trained there.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting because even in Korea, if you want to train in Jaseng, I heard it's really hard to get in there. So that's very amazing that you got in there.
Every blessing I have has really happened through my connections and through my relationships with other people and practitioners especially. And yeah, I mean, when I met him, he was like, to me, it was like meeting, Michael Jordan, someone so famous. And I did not know his level. I knew he was a president. I'm talking about Dr. Shin. I knew he was a president of the hospital, but I had no idea that he sees all the Korean athletes from Kim Yuna to Park Ji-sung to, Sin Chu. I mean, you just, everybody could think of. And now he's the new president's like doctor. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, learning from the best. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you, what made you want to become an acupuncturist in the first place?
Well, I started after high school. I joined the Navy, and I was a medic, a corpsman. And right away, I started training it's called EMT, and then medical assistant, and then nursing in general. So nursing and medic side. So for combat medicine and whatnot. Worked in the ERs for many years, emergency rooms. I think 6 years I did. Worked at Children's Hospital when I got out. I worked as a paramedic. I learned a lot. And I loved medicine. I loved helping people. But, emergency room is for emergencies. And in my opinion, and you asked many people that work in the emergency rooms, I would say 90, maybe 95% of the people do not need to be there. So it's our sick care system. And, we'll have some, homeless person call 911 at 3 a.m. because they're cold or they're hungry or whatever. And of course, mental health. But what I'm getting at is we're excellent with with Western medicine or allopathic. It's excellent for emergencies, for life-threatening things, for surgeries. But for chronic things, they're using the same thinking to treat even chronic condition. What if someone has blood pressure issues or someone's diabetic or whatever? It's like, yes, we have to control this, but not once does the doctor talk about lifestyle and diet and nutrition and the patient's responsibility. So after the Navy, I started studying Chinese language in the university, and I studying philosophy. I love philosophy. I love the Chinese and Asian cultures. I'm from Koreatown, so of course, that's part of my upbringing. And I really was fascinated by the calligraphy and everything else. So I went to China. I went to China with a backpack, and I would go in between semesters. And I met some people that worked at the hospitals. And then when I went to the hospitals, I saw them treating, number one, the emergency rooms are empty. It's pretty interesting. But the other thing is, let me move my camera up there. Oops. But the other thing is the way they treat, for example, stroke patients. So here in the US, a patient has a stroke, we get them on the clot box if it's enough time. We give them medications, the patient does PT, and we wish them the best until your insurance runs out or something, whatever. But there in China, they do acupuncture, of course. They do herbal medicine. They did herbal injections. They talked about nutrition, the importance of your diet. You go to any hospital here, Jello, milk, bread, pizza, pasta, cheap, starched, simple carbs, processed food, not healthy. Oh, and your Diet Coke. But down there, you know, any Korea, Japan, Thailand, Taiwan, the kids, the people, even in the hospitals, they eat real food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what's the seaweed sea muguk, when a
Yeah.
woman's pregnant. So, you know,
Yes.
yeah, seaweed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but you go to the US, of course. So anyways, bottom line is I saw results. I saw results in days and sometimes the same treatment. So a patient will have zero response, right, with their hand. That's for a stroke patient. So lift up the arm, falls down, lift it up, falls down, nothing, can't control it, right? And then I see them putting the acupuncture needles in the scalp and whatever. And within a few moments, patient starts. I never seen that. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. I've never seen that. And that's when I said, you know what, I need to study this. Of course, my parents, my family, my friends, they said I'm crazy because I did already 6 years studying. I had a degree. I was actually finishing my nursing program, and I thought I was going to be a nurse practitioner or something. And of course, you know, nurse practitioner is good pay, and nursing is good pay. But I wanted something more. And I understood that acupuncture, I never met a rich or successful acupuncturist. You know, for me, it was mostly in Koreatown and Chinatowns, and, you know, they're doing okay, but I never looked at it for financial. And I just really had a curiosity and a passion to learn these technique that's new for me in my culture and Western medicine. But I saw with my own eyes what is possible. And that's when I said, I don't care what anyone, my family, my friends, or society, you know, I'm Cuban Mexican. You know, I mean, and here I am with my Korean medical degree. You know, it's like, it's funny, but, you know, it just shows you that the medicine it just speaks for itself. You know, so.
I see. So that's how you started acupuncture.
After a few trips to China and then eventually Korea, I knew that this is what I was going to study. I was about to go to China to do I think it's a 7-year program in I think it's a Tianjin, Tianjin University. And yet, of course, I knew basic Chinese, but, you know, that's medical Chinese, and all the after year 1, it's all in Chinese language. And Dongguk just bought a school in Los Angeles. And I knew the affiliation when I did research, and I just dreamed about it. I'm like, what if I can train in Korea when I graduate? You know, and the school was like, well, usually no one does that. And I'm like, I don't care. I could be the first. And believe it or not, the school sent me while I was a student, because I was a student body president. They sent me and 2 other students to Korea. They paid for everything.
Oh, wow. Really?
So I give talks all the time, well, before COVID, to Dongguk students and alumni, because that really changed my whole life. So the school, of course, here is less than 4 years. And then, you know, it's for your master's. But once again, I knew that I had an opportunity and a chance to train down there, in Korea. So I was like,
amazing.
And of course, it's U.S. accredited school. So, you know, I can practice as soon as I get my license.
Right. Do you know if Dongguk University still send students to Korea so they can get trained?
I know they were doing it a few times after I graduated, but it's been a while. I don't, of course, COVID threw everything, you know, everywhere. Yeah. But the short answer is I don't know.
You don't know.
I think that they stopped, but, you know, it would be great if they restarted. Of course, the numbers of students is lower than before. I offer a scholarship at my school for best intern of the year. You know, it's $1,000. It's not a lot, but my dream is I want to give $10,000. You know what I mean? Or maybe I pay. I'm not saying all of it, but even, you know, send a student to Korea. You know how cool that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
You know,
that's like a dream.
But I know you're not asking, but I did, after all these years of training with Jaseng and Dr. Shin, you know, because he's like my father figure there. they started training foreigners. So you won't be trained like me, like, but they're going to introduce the Korean style, because a lot of people that don't know, they think Korean style is the, sojichin, the hand therapies. I never saw it. I've never seen it in Korea. Even though it's a Korean technique, I personally never seen it in Korea at the hospitals. But they're starting kind of like an internship where you actually go there and train, and they will, you shadow the doctors around, and you actually will get experience. It's a lot better than the tourist, because, some people, they say, oh yeah, I went to China, and they're like, yeah, you're a tourist. You weren't like training there, so it's two different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully Don't Google will do it again.
Hope so too. Okay. So, so after you got your license and you got training from Jiaxing, how did you start with your business, your clinic right now?
So I remember during my business class, which we'll talk about that probably later, in school, and anyone that's a graduate or in the process, they'll know that what they teach in school is just simply not enough. But I see that also with chiropractic schools, and I agree with the school, because what's the other option? They're going to start training business classes, and then that means a student has to pay for more class, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of tough. I think the medical school is for medicine, and it's up to us individually if we want to own our own business, which many of us, that's what we have, because there's only a limited number of jobs out there. I mean, I have 4 doctors full time, but it's just not enough. So anyway, so during the training, they're like, how much are you going to charge? And then everyone's raising their hand, I want to charge $200 a visit. I'm going to charge $150 a visit. Well, I'm going to be a specialist. I'm going to charge $300 a visit. And you know what? I do have friends that charge that much. And when it came to my turn, I said $40. And everyone thought I was joking. And I was like, no. My family is in the restaurant business. And one thing I learned about business is, number one, don't be greedy. Number two is balance. So, McDonald's burger might cost $1 or $2. And then a burger at a nice restaurant might cost $15. Is a $15 burger 15 times better than the McDonald's? I don't know, maybe not, but is it worth it? And how many burgers is a restaurant selling compared to McDonald's? That whole analogy. So for me, I knew that I want a busy clinic. I want to be like the doctors in Korea, seeing 60, 80, 100 patients a day. Well, there's only so many hours in a day, so you have to be good, you have to be quick, you have to be efficient. You don't have to spend an hour and a half with each patient. That's some people do for their styles, 5-element style and things like that, which is wonderful. But I'm the budget meal. I'd rather see you more often. Also in Korea and in China and Taiwan and pretty much anywhere I ever went, the most famous doctors had one thing in common. The patients would come several times a week.
I see.
The patient will not come once a week for their horrible, horrible back pain. No, they'll come every day, every other day, something like that. Maybe even 2 times a week, but usually, 3 if they're in bad shape. So my mind was thinking $40 is a lot more doable for most people than $150. So I opened up in a Mexican flea market.
Oh, okay.
It's an indoor. I had air conditioning. And maybe I'll send you a picture of back in the day. But yes, it was in a Mexican flea market. And I would do free consultations.
Wow.
Free pulse, tongue. I'm fluent. So, just start talking to people. And that's how I started. And some days I would be there 10, 12 hours, 14 hours, and I would have 0 patients, $0. And then sometimes, I had a little bit. So, like any other business, I always believe I got to start small and then work my way up. And as I grow, then the business will grow too. Because, you know, I think we all do that, right? Like we all look at other people's Instagram life or their success, and we're like, oh, it must be nice. Or maybe they have a rich, you know, family, or the sugar daddy or sugar mama or whatever. But, you know, sometimes that's true, but in many cases it's not. And, you know, it's easy for people to say, oh, you're successful and you have money or whatever else, but they have no idea what you went through, you know?
Right.
So, but yeah, Mexican flea market, $300 a month. And that's how I started. And it was bare bones. I had like a $70 massage table. The thin one, the portable one, is not comfortable at all. But I needed to start somewhere.
Yes.
And I would do moxa in there. So people are like, what's that smell? You know, hey, you know, I teach it. And I, like I said, I would be very affordable. The herbs, I would say 80%. No, back in the day, it was almost 100% of my patients were doing the pills. You know, and the pills are not that expensive, but I would charge, you know, I would charge like $10. So I'll make $5, $6, whatever. But for me, it was always about numbers. And then
so how
I'm sorry. So then after the flea market, within a year, I started getting enough patients where I was like, you know what, I can afford a bigger place, which then I moved to a 700 square foot place, very, very thin. Anyone that knows about real estate, they'll know like 700 is not that big. That includes a bathroom, your supply area, your treatment rooms, your consultation. I mean, just, I did it though. And we moved there, and, you know, I knew as soon as I started seeing 8 to 10 patients a day, I could afford that and be profitable.
Wow. So you started from the flea market, and then you moved to an office where
2 rooms,
700 square feet. Yeah.
2 treatment rooms, 1 consultation
Rooms.
and the bed was against the wall. You know, it's small. It's small, but it was efficient, and it worked. And I did that. I was there for almost 5 years.
5
then
years.
We moved to a bigger location that's 2,000 square feet or 2,200 square feet. And that had 5 rooms there.
Nice.
And that's when I started hiring more staff. And I started, because, you know, when I'm in the small clinic, it was just me and one assistant. And my sister, and then my mother, and then my sister-in-law, you know what I mean? So it was like family, you know, like anything else. And then when we went to the bigger one, that's when I hired my first doctor.
I see.
And I started training like an assistant, like, so the front office is different from the assistant.
Right.
And then 5 years later, we moved in our building. That was 3 years ago. In January, it's 3 years ago. Now we have our own building, 20,000 square foot. Wow. And my vision is...
Congratulations.
Oh, it's not mine, it's the bank's, but thank you. But my vision is adjusting. Like, have a true integrative center, have physical therapy, have chiro, have a medical doctor, have a stretch therapy, have a psychologist, maybe not one that gives drugs all the time, but, you know, a talk therapy, classes. I have a big classroom that could seat 60, 70 people. So anybody that you know, hears this and they're ever curious, I told you, I've been so blessed. And I have teachers in Japan and Tokyo. I have teachers in Taiwan. But I've been so blessed that anyone that ever wants to shadow, you know, for a day or two, reach out to me, no cost. I mean, you can buy me coffee or something, you know, Starbucks or.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So for you and all your people, you know, or maybe we could do the second episode in Dallas, you know?
Oh, yes, we
and
could.
Then the third episode in Korea.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes, we could. Yeah. So we'll leave Carlos' information on the comments. So if anyone's interested, just reach out to him. We'll leave his Instagram information, and you can reach out to him if you want to shadow him. That'll be really nice.
My website, drchapa.com, CHAPA.com.
Okay. All right. Wow, thank you so much. That's really exciting. I think a lot of students would love to, or even like other practitioners would love to shadow, doctors who's already established, and then have set career. So thank you.
No problem, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even had, it's crazy because that was years ago. I even had 3 students from Busan University that were studying Korean medicine. And I met them when they were students. And once again, I was in Korea. I met up with one of them. And now she's, you know, she's 31 or something. She's, you know, and I used to know her. She's like 23, 24, you know. So it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, this community, you know, I think that we think that there's so many of us and whatnot, but there's really not. Even in Korea, you know, whether it's Dongguk University or Kyunghee University, that the graduating classes are not like China. China's like graduating class like 500, 700, you know, what in Korea, 60, 80. And we're talking about a very well-known place, but it's not that big, you know? So, yeah.
And even if we all graduate from acupuncture school, I think we still struggle how we're gonna set the acupuncture clinic or even start. A lot of people don't know where to start.
Right.
So that's why we're starting this interviewing for already went through that and established. So I hopefully this episode will help students or practitioners. So our next question is, do you have any specific advice for people who are who wants to build the business in acupuncture field or who are starting their clinics? Do you have any advice for them?